When the concept of K-pop was teased, it seemed like the ultimate crossover dream come true, promising to bridge the gap between Western artists and K-pop idols and collaborations that were supposed to blow everyone's minds. The concept itself is pretty genius, giving fans the chance to discover new music while watching their favorite artists step completely outside their comfort zones to create something totally new. But as the show has unfolded, it's become clear that not every collaboration hits the way it's supposed to, and what started as an exciting cultural exchange has turned into something that's looking a little messier than anyone expected. For those who aren't familiar, here's how the show operates. Each of the 8 episodes follows a pretty straightforward but ambitious format that honestly sounds like it could be incredible on paper. The show takes an established Korean boy or girl group and splits them right down the middle, then pairs each half with a different Western solo artist to completely reimagine one of the guest's biggest hits. The whole thing culminates in these full-scale performances with the kind of perfectly synchronized choreographies that only K-pop groups can pull off, and at the end of each episode, a studio audience gets to decide which collaboration got K-popped the most effectively. Things get a bit more interesting when iconic groups like Boyz II Men show up, because instead of having 2 Western artists, the Korean group just performs twice, with each half taking on the same song separately, essentially creating this wild situation where the group is competing against themselves for the crown. It's definitely a unique twist that keeps you guessing, and while the judging criteria seems to lean heavily toward whichever performance brings the most energy and maybe a little edge to the table, the whole concept still feels like it has serious potential to create some truly unforgettable performances. The whole concept of K-pop also serves as a pretty major flex for just how central K-pop has become in the global music scene, because instead of Korean artists flying halfway around the world to work with Western stars like they used to, this time it's the international artists making the trip to Korea to collaborate. It's honestly a complete role reversal that shows just how much the industry has shifted, and it's kind of great to witness in real time. What's more surprising is that putting together this star-studded lineup turned out to be way easier than anyone expected it to be. Director Lee Young-kyu revealed in a press interview that casting international talent was surprisingly smooth, with tons of artists already showing genuine interest in diving into the K-pop world. He even pointed to J Balvin's previous meetup with ATEEZ at Coachella as a perfect example of how these collaborations were already happening naturally, and the show just gave them the perfect platform to make it official. According to Young-kyu, the whole goal was to bring together both legendary icons and rising stars from completely different genres and countries, creating this incredible mix that fans probably thought they'd never see. Some of the performances that had viewers absolutely lose their minds were exactly the kind of magic everyone was hoping for when the show first got announced. One fan who was completely new to K-pop couldn't stop raving about JO1 and Eve's performance, and honestly, their excitement was so infectious that it perfectly captured what the show was supposed to do in the first place. What made it even better was how you could actually see the Western stars becoming way more collaborative with the idols as the episodes went on, creating this nice evolution where everyone seemed to get more comfortable and creative with each other. But the performance that really had people in their feelings was Black Swan's collaboration with Boyz II Men, which turned into something genuinely heartwarming that went way beyond just music. Getting to watch the girls sit down for dinner with the group was a very sweet moment, and fans shared that you could really see the boys were treating them like equals instead of some random K-pop group they'd never heard of. It was the kind of genuine connection that made fans fall in love with both acts all over again, with one viewer admitting they hadn't been keeping up with Black Swan lately, but the episode completely reignited their interest in the group. Fans were also very loud about the ATEEZ collaboration, calling it iconic because they had to watch J Balvin slightly freak out about the choreography, making it a very wholesome experience. They argued that even during the actual performance, you could see him focused on nailing every single dance move, and there was something so endearing about him being completely mesmerized by the precision and complexity of K-pop choreographies. Unfortunately, not everyone was completely blown away by what they were seeing, and some viewers walked away feeling pretty disappointed that the show didn't live up to its full potential. The biggest complaint seemed to be that most performances barely differed from the original songs, making them feel more like really polished high school talent show acts instead of the innovative cultural mashup everyone was expecting. Fans were hoping for way more creative mixing and blending, but instead got what felt like simple, low-budget karaoke sessions that played it way too safe. The frustration was especially obvious when it came to how the show seemed to prioritize the Western songs without making nearly enough space for the Korean artists to really shine with their own material. ITZY became the perfect example of this missed opportunity when they performed Spice Girls Wannabe without any reference to their own massive hit with the exact same title. Fans were absolutely baffled that the show didn't take advantage of such an obvious chance to blend both versions together, especially since they're both high-energy anthems that could have created something totally mind-blowing. Instead, it felt like a wasted moment that highlighted exactly exactly what was wrong with the show's approach, sticking too close to the originals instead of taking the creative risks that could have made K-pop truly special. As one viewer put it, they would definitely watch more episodes, but the future success of the concept really depends on whether they're willing to innovate with more mashups and creative arrangements instead of the current setup. The negative fan reactions were nothing compared to what critics had to say, with media outlets straight up calling the show a pretty blatant cash grab that felt rushed, low effort, and lacking in the depth it needed to actually work. One particularly harsh review described the program as harmless but completely vibeless, basically accusing it of being a fairly obvious attempt to make money off of K-pop's massive popularity without putting in the real work to make it meaningful. The biggest issue critics pointed out was how soulless everything felt, even though the behind-the-scenes logistics must have been absolutely wild to coordinate. Unlike other competition shows that thrive on drama, tension, and the occasional failures that keep viewers glued to their screens, K-pop played it so safe that it basically had no stakes at all. Not to mention that the cultural exchange moments they did include felt pretty surface level. Think of Megan eating unbearably spicy ramen, Kylie Minogue learning a traditional Korean dance, or Emma Bunton and Mel B sitting through a tea ceremony before magically producing 2 covers with lyrics and choreography mastered in just 48 hours. What bothered viewers the most was how the show barely scratched the surface of acknowledging the incredible amount of effort and dedication that K-pop artists put into their craft, instead reducing their intense training and perfectionism to what felt like negative commentary. When Megan described K-pop as being like a boot camp and Jess Glynn called it a system, that was pretty much the closest the show came to recognizing just how demanding these artists' careers really are. While most of the collaborations had fans absolutely ecstatic, some of the Western artists definitely didn't win over viewers with their attitudes, and fans didn't shy away from calling out the problematic behavior they witnessed. The biggest target of criticism was easily Vanilla Ice, who apparently made such a mess of his collaboration that fans on X were commenting that whoever recruited him should be fired immediately. The detail that had most netizens pressed was that Vanilla Ice completely changed the choreography that Kepler had already practiced, and when they realized they had just 48 hours to incorporate everything perfectly, one of the girls asked if they could go back to the original version. Vanilla Ice's response was basically a flat-out no, which had fans absolutely fuming about his lack of respect for the artist he was supposed to be collaborating with. Online, people commented on how obvious it became which Western artists actually viewed their Korean counterparts as real people and fellow artists, versus those who seemed to have a more belittling attitude that completely dismissed their talent and professionalism. One viewer perfectly summed up the frustration, saying they found Vanilla Ice's attitude toward the girls and their work incredibly rude and standoffish, especially when he just decided to change the choreography without telling them or caring about the fact that they'd have to completely relearn everything in an impossibly short amount of time. On top of all the creative and collaborative disappointments, the show also got hit with some serious behind-the-scenes drama that definitely didn't help its case. Psy, who was supposed to be one of the major co-hosts, ended up at the center of a legal controversy when he was recently arrested by the police for allegedly having his manager illegally collect prescribed substances. The whole situation completely overshadowed the show's release and left the production team scrambling to figure out what to do with his appearances. Fans started wondering whether his scenes would get edited out, or if they'd try to work around the scandal in another way. Both the director and other program officials went radio silent on the topic, emphasizing that they couldn't comment on the personal issues of cast members, which made the whole situation feel even more awkward and uncertain. Despite all the drama, the director tried to keep the focus on what was supposed to be the real heart of K-pop, namely the music. He kept highlighting that while visuals and performance definitely play their part, it's supposed to be the beauty of K-pop's choreographies and melodies that resonate most deeply with global audiences. Ultimately, Psy only appeared in the show through pre-recorded cameo appearances scattered throughout the episodes. This whole mess definitely didn't help the show's already shaky quality, leaving viewers with yet another reason to feel like the production was falling short of what it could have been.